We have all night to upload it.
Because
How do I get back to where you were?
you're still on. Is your phone still on? That's off. That's off. Okay. Bricktown Media. It's like one of the old school corn shirts. What's going on? Let us know if we're coming in good for you. Just woke up here in Sweden. Hope you're having a nice week. What's up, man? Do I think people die an early death when they mock God? No. I think generally those are the people that God keeps alive. Looks better. It's a lot better. Well, Sori won that argument. Surprise, surprise. Where's Sori?
I'm going to get some watermelon.
Sori's going to get some watermelon.
I'm here. Yeah. I'm going to get some watermelon.
Nobody cares about me. Where's Sori?
That's not true. They just want to make sure nothing happened to me.
What a week.
Okay, guys, I'm going to get watermelon. I'll be right back.
Bring me the horizon soon. Yes. Nice corn shirt. This is actually a corn shirt that one of our village friends gave us. It's signed by Head and Monkey and Fieldy. It's pretty crazy. What's going on, SoCal Rob? What's going on, BM Fan? And fried chicken. Very good. No, nothing from Bullet for My Valentine. I asked because I watched a video of top 5 people who died right after they mocked God. It was very interesting. Yikes. I just had some margaritas. Is it bad that I hate being around a lot of people and rather be alone in my room? It's probably best for everyone. So this is a pretty agendaless fireside. I'm just chilling. When's your next Megadeth video? Soon. R.I.P. to the big homie Robin Williams. Good Lord. How was your week? My week was pretty good. It went by in kind of a flash. I couldn't really tell you what I did on Monday or Tuesday. Honestly, the only thing I can remember about this past week was the fireside chats that we did. It's like literally the only thing I can remember. So, yeah. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but it looks like my YouTube life is more real to me than my regular life. And before anybody gets like super concerned about that, like before YouTube I was a workaholic anyway, so I was, it's always worked for me. So, what can you do? No, I don't recall seeing an email about that. How long have you played guitar? What's your favorite song to play? Right now, my favorite song to play doesn't have a song title because I just came up with it. Do you guys not sleep much? I don't sleep a lot. I do not sleep a lot. What's going on, Half? How you doing, big homie? I caught your stream with you and your girl. I was like, man, it was a recorded version though. I was like, damn it, I wish I could see it live, but I can't. I missed it. Shout out to the big homie Hef. YouTube is so terrible. Hef, I'm pretty sure like you're one of the few people that I've actually subscribed to because I actually really like your content, and like I never get notifications when you have stuff up, my guy. Yeah, we do get a ton of emails. Yeah, if you resend though. Vin, look, seriously. Are you pre-trib rapture? No. No. Alex, ask me a question. Alex, what do you think is let me ask you this question, Hafner. What do you think is the craziest thing I've said that you were like, yo, I can't believe he said that? Either in a fireside or in a video. I'm not going to ask you to comment whether you agree or disagree with it. I'm just curious, like, has there ever been a Vin and Sori moment where you're like, yo, I can't believe you just freaking said that? Integrity, my email is vinandsori@gmail.com. Yes, it's very very possible that we'll do a Bathory song. What's up, Habib Kebab? Do a phone call with Alex right now. Seems like most of the area is very close. That's really cool. Yeah. Have a dope ass day. True story. Oh, hey, you're having a heroicide. Bathory. The best way to contact me is vinandsori@gmail.com. That's the absolute best way to contact me. Oh, okay, Hef. Yeah? Yeah, that's a really interesting point, huh? That's cool. The thing I like about you're probably the most singularly charismatic person on YouTube right now.
Oh, he's in here?
Yeah, Hef is here.
Oh, I had to coordinate him with about the shirts.
I was talking to Sori about it. I was like, that guy is just so freaking charismatic.
I know. He's fun.
But he's genuine. He doesn't like, there's no like, he's not, I'm not going to say anything.
He reminds me of a mix of my, I know, my brother and my cousin. Can you push over a little bit? Thanks.
Okay, so Thrasher.
Hi, Kevin.
Thrasher, are you, Wasfowl? Are you Thrasher? I'm like completely destroying this thing here. Vin, how do you go about talking with Satanists? It always scares me that's about to spill over.
Yikes. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm trying to like.
How do you go about talking with Satanists? It always scares me, but I don't want to reject them because I want to show them Christ. Well, what scares you about talking to Satanists?
No integrity. I don't remember dropping like flies. What was that?
Dropping like, oh, it was a comment he left on, I think, the last fireside of the Trump thing, I think.
Remind me. I have a terrible memory.
Hi, greetings to you too.
Can we see the lava lamp? They want to see the lava. Right there.
Okay. So, Luke, call in.
My family doesn't know. My mom knows that we react to metal. The rest of my family doesn't know. If they did, they would not approve and they would be worried about me.
They'd say, I knew it!
Yeah. Please read my replies with links. Dropping like flies. Okay.
Name the lamp. Vatain did a tribute concert to Bathory a few years ago and held a little speech. It was really emotional.
Actually happened to Sparky.
And a fantastic show. Might be on YouTube. Wow, I'm surprised.
Got dropped a couple times.
Who, Sparky?
Yeah.
If you want to call in on the show, it's, oh my goodness.
You know, I make the best cream of broccoli soup. But he thinks it's just, like, anything that's a white cream is so nasty to him. Like, I might even have to go on the other side of the room to enjoy it.
You don't have to do any such thing.
But seriously, guys, if you want a badass recipe for cream of broccoli, I probably don't look like I can cook, but this...
Who said you don't look like you could cook?
Some people just don't look like they can cook. But
will you ever review other genres? I'm
going to have Vin react to the song that, like, probably the first secular song that I can remember hearing. You guys will all hate it, but I think it will be fun to watch him review it.
Did you read what Nergal posted about you on Instagram? Yes, I did. It was very cool.
Nice corn shirt, Vin. It was from Dan O'Connell.
Hey, oh, that's another thing I'd like to ask. This is probably the most meaningful
Really,
gift.
Jay? You're eating broccoli?
This is probably the most meaningful gift I've ever gotten from a villager so far. Hefner, what was your...
People are asking what Behemoth said. Where can they see that? What Behemoth? What Nergal said?
Nergal's post about us is on... it was on his Instagram and on his Facebook.
See, Gregory, well, then ask it.
Ask the question, sir. He basically said that he thought it was funny that I said I'd rather have him watch my kids than a priest.
Right.
And he said that won the internet. And then he said something like he appreciated that we actually took the time to go deep into the lyrics. And he was kind of like a low-key, like, he's like, basically some of my fans wouldn't even do that. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I was like, whoa, guy.
I don't put carrot in it, but I think that you could, like, small little pieces of carrot. But I don't do it.
That's an interesting. Satan is part of Christian theology, so if you're a Satanist, aren't you basically a follower of the Christian faith? Well, yeah, I mean it's a form of it's a form of the Christian faith to some degree. I need more of a breakdown about why a person would be afraid of a Satanist. Can you email me some cream of broccoli soup?
Recipe, the actual soup.
I wish that she would email that cream of broccoli soup to you. Honestly, to be honest.
Hey. No, we don't have any Metallica shirts. People have sent us Neil Viscaris. He's got that corn shirt. Vector. And we have another one. Well, we have Pink Floyd. Yep. Is that all of them?
I think so.
And then, of course, have a dope-ass day from
from the big homie, Alex Hefner. He was there when we had the remember when I was talking about Marilyn Manson and how people were misusing Manson? Mm-hmm. That he was there for that debate.
Oh, really?
That was pretty cool. Why so little talk of Satan in the Bible if he's such a baddie? Yeah, I think that's a very important question. I don't think that's... Like, God is the main character in the Bible. Like, Satan is like a prop, kind of.
What? Dropping like flies. All my replies are not visible to anyone. I know. Wife, friends cannot see my comments. Email incoming. That's weird. When it says message retracted, does that mean that we like you know how you can say block messages that could be spam? What, is it this soup is bothering you?
No, it's fine. Can you explain to me why you believe Osama bin Laden was responsible for 9/11?
Oh, yum, Jay. That sounds good.
I mean, didn't he say that he was responsible for 9/11? I think Muhammad Atta was responsible for 9/11.
Oh, Kevin deleted it. That's why it blocked it.
I would love to call and chat with you about it. About bin Laden?
So,
I mean,
Habib Kebab? Is that how you say that?
Yeah, Habib Kebab. Yeah, well, I mean, Skype me, brother.
Get us on Skype.
It's Skype. It's Vin and space Sori. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Oh no! Oh no! He ruined it. Is that how you hear it in real?
That's how I hear it. That's how I hear it.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's terrible. Oh Lord.
It's conspiracy time. Yeah, Hasatan is the Hebrew, and it just means adversary. That's all it means.
We got this. I don't know what this means.
Hello.
Hello. I like it when you do that.
Yo.
Your speaker's off.
Oh, speaker's off. Let's try to put it back on, shall we? Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
What shall we call you?
Are we talking about bin Laden?
We are. This is Dan.
Yes.
Yeah. How you going?
What's up? Dan, are you a Muslim?
No, dude, not at all. Not at all. It's just the whole reason I was wanting to ask about it was basically I don't understand how you can possibly believe that Bin Laden was responsible for that when it was a complete and utter professional demolition.
How do I believe? So who do you think was responsible for 9/11?
The government, dude. Totally.
Okay, and what incentive would the government have for 9/11?
War, dude. War is money.
War is money. War. What do you like for who? Who is war money for?
The American government. So basically, you know, they do that. They start a war for oil in the Middle East. Bob's your sister. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, do you know what happened to the U.S. economy after 9/11?
I certainly do. But if you go and look at the evidence of, you know, if you watch the Twin Towers falling in slow motion and see all the windows explode from the demolition, it's pretty crazy.
Well, what I was asking you was what the incentive was for staging 9/11, to which you responded, money.
War, exactly, money.
But the economy was pretty bad for a very, very long time.
You're correct, it was.
So where is the money?
Well, basically, it's still happening now, man. There's still wars going on that started from that pretext. You know what I mean?
And they're vastly expensive. We're like $1 trillion, and those wars cost us like $1 trillion.
Yeah, that's true. They did, but you know, it's continual. You know, what did they spend? Was it $130 billion in between 2008 and 2013? On the wars in the Middle East, which is just insane to me. But I don't understand, like, with all the evidence that points to it, man, they found thermite in the fucking, sorry, pardon my language, in the debris. You know, thermite's from explosives, dude, from C4. So I don't understand how people can believe that it wasn't set up. Not to mention the fact that the guy redid, I forget the guy's name, the Jewish bloke that owns the Twin Towers or whatever it was, redid his insurance policy to include terror attacks like 3 months before it happened. Like, come on, man.
Well, you do realize that the Twin Towers had already been targeted in the
1980, 1985 or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, also in the late 90s. So wouldn't it be
late 90s?
Wouldn't it be what? I mean, is that like out of the blue that a person would have insurance for terrorist attacks for that?
No, definitely not. But what I'm saying is it's just slightly convenient that it happened, you know, like a couple of months before they were hit by a couple of planes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just seems too convenient for me, man. Like,
I'm just not seeing what the... I'm
the
not...
reason why I wanted to ask is I thought, man, Vin's a smart guy. I don't know how he can possibly think that those towers fell from being hit by planes. Like,
well, I didn't say the towers fell from being hit by planes. I'm asking you what the win is, and you said the win was economic, but then you said that it put us $1 trillion in debt. So I'm not seeing where's the win.
That obviously it backfired, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
okay. So they planned,
you know,
they planned 9/11 to justify a war for economic reasons, and then it backfired. They completely miscalculated.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, bro. I feel like if we're gonna say that these people are intelligent enough to construct this type of a facade, that they would be intelligent enough to know that it would put us $1 trillion in debt, right?
Well, yeah, I'd like to think so, man. But I mean, you do have Trump as president, so you know, like, I don't, you know, there's not always, people aren't always as smart as you think.
Well, if they're not as smart as you think, then doesn't that then indicate that their ability to pull off this pretty complex conspiracy would then be called into question?
Totally, dude.
Like, you can't have. I guess for me, it's like
insane.
I guess for me, it's like you can't have it both ways. Either they're like woefully incompetent and they're stupid enough to put a adult like Trump in office, or they're highly intelligent, in which case there's got to be an alternate reason other than economics that made them conspire to create 9/11. But I can't see both of them at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I can't get my head around the fact, right, with all the evidence that's there, that it wasn't set up. And who else has the power to set something like that up? You can't tell me terrorist organizations that, even being backed by Russia and whoever else they're backed by, have the amount of money it would take to pull off something like that.
Well, how much money would it take to pull off something like that?
Well, it was a set demolition, man. You think how much money it's going to take to set up a demolition like that?
Okay.
Like, it's going to take an insane amount of money.
I just
can't get my head around it. Like, logic says to me it's impossible. Like,
well, bin Laden's dad was a billionaire. You know that.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, even being funded by those guys, like, I just don't.
So I
don't see how, without there being some form of I get some sort of conspiracy to sweep it under the rug or anything like that. I can't see how they could pull something like that off. Like, how do you get the people in there to load all the fucking bombs and shit? You know, like, I just don't understand.
All right, bro. Thanks.
Yeah, that was my question anyway, like you said before, you know.
I'm sure.
What's your Vin moment that you've gone, I can't believe you just said that. That was mine.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, dude. Take it easy. Love your work, by the way. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that was a big homie Dan. See, this is the thing. The village. You don't have to always agree with us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to talk things through.
Honey.
What?
You're bringing this up here, and I can't message anybody because I can't see that. Can't you turn the internet on your computer? Do you have Logos there?
What?
Because I think that we have enough internet power to run both of those now that you're not uploading.
No, we're fine. Who's my guy? Walrus. Call me. Vin and Sori at what do you call it? Skype. How do I find out when you guys go live? I have no idea.
No idea.
I've tried.
It hasn't been an hour, Leslie. We just got here.
Yeah, we just showed up, so it's all good. What's up, Mandy?
Stop it! You put space in there.
Vin and Sori. Does the lava lamp have a name yet? No. Damon wants to know. Okay, well, I'm gonna message Damon once I get off the fireside.
Leslie, what do you want to talk about?
Bell notification does not work. Is 9/11 the topic? No, 9/11 is not the topic. 9/11. I mean, it's random topics. See, Lilo is one of those people that loves to criticize everybody but never calls.
Yeah.
Him and Ben are kind of like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like they're the same person. Any explanation as to why Building 5, which wasn't hit by any plane or debris, collapsed? I'm not commenting whether or not 9/11 was an inside job. All I'm asking is, what do people think the win is for the government? That's all I'm saying. Like, let's say there was a government conspiracy.
Hey, Joshua.
Why is it, what does the government gain from it? Did Vin just call me him? I knew I should have said him or her.
For which one? Leslie?
No, Lilo.
Oh.
Government win plus control. What what control did they gain after 9/11 that they didn't have before? Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like George Bush was such a moron, yet he pulled off this vast conspiracy. Sparky bit the bullet. Yes, he did.
Yeah, he bit the floor is what happened.
More backing for war. Okay, why do they want to go to war?
What kind of art do I do?
Oh, here he is.
What makes you think I do art? I have art in my soul, but I'm not really sure I express it in any way.
I'm trying to call the big homie. You know who I miss talking to? Carmen.
She must be busy.
Yo, this is Vin.
She put a comment today.
This is... What do you call me? Only Thrasher all the time. I don't... Hello.
Hello.
You're alive, sir. Did you have a question?
In the Bible, it says... In the Bible, I've been told in the Bible it says... Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast. I've been told that that word should be charity by people that have.
I was just reading that chapter to our youngest today.
That have studied the original languages.
Okay, what Greek word did he say was in that passage? Did he say there was a Greek word?
I don't remember. It was years ago.
Okay. So the Greek language has multiple words for the term love, right? So there's eros. Eros is like the love between a man and a woman, where we get the term erotic from. There is phileo, which is like brotherly love, right? And then there's this love called agape, and agape is generally considered the sort of a selfless love where you give without expecting anything in return. So agape, and a lot of Christians will tell you that agape is like the highest form of love, because in eros love there's kind of a give and take, right? In a sexual relationship. In Philadelphia, the love of brothers is a sort of like bond that brothers have that's sort of a give and take, right? But agape is considered the highest form of love by a lot of Christians, because it's a love that you give without getting anything in return, and it's almost, at some degree, it's impossible. So, for example, a mom taking care of her newborn baby, like the baby can't repay her, right? So, like, that form of love is what they call agape. So, for example, the famous passage in John 3:16, God so loved the world. You still with me? Can you hear?
He gave his only begotten son.
Right. Okay, the Greek word there for loved is... Yeah. The Greek word for loved is literally the exact same word that you...
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's delayed.
Hey, bro, are you delayed? Are you listening from the computer?
I'm listening on the computer. There's a little delay. There's a little echo.
Okay. So it's going to be a little awkward, but that's okay.
If he silences his computer, just uses the volume on his phone.
Yeah, if you just use if you just hear it from the phone instead of the computer, it'll be better.
Like, if you mute your computer and then only hear the volume from your phone, it shouldn't be delayed.
Okay, mute the computer.
Yep.
Hold on. Skype's not on the computer. Hold on.
Are you doing Skype from your phone?
I wasn't. Hold on.
Was it?
I'm not sure.
Because we use it. That's where you're using it from. But I have a problem.
I'm trying to.
We're waiting, buddy. No worries.
Nice shirt, Vin.
I appreciate it.
It's trying to make my phone evolve here.
Do you have an iPhone?
No, Android.
That's the problem.
It's got to update a bunch of stuff. Okay, it's updating a bunch of stuff. It's not an iPhone, it's Android.
How do you keep up with the comments? I don't think we do. We just answer some of them. We don't do all of them.
Right. Okay. All good.
Ben. I'm very happy for you, Ben.
I just got out of the shower, so I smell super fresh. I wish you guys could smell me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. Thanks,
Now
Leslie.
you're literally just waiting for me to figure out my phone.
Well,
Yeah, Devin, we're married.
it's up to you, bro. I mean, if you can deal with the thingy, with the echo or the delay, that's fine. No, we don't smoke weed. Are you guys into any certain comedians? Look at this guy. Jesus equals Mithra. Hey, JH, after I get done this call me and let's talk about Jesus equaling Mithra. I shouldn't laugh. I'm not gonna laugh.
What's going on?
I'm not gonna laugh. Babe, you already did. This smells weed. That's why his eyes are super pink in all the reviews.
Wow. phone is not in on the call.
Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Just put it on the computer.
Yeah, well, can you hear me right now?
I can hear you, but it's a delay.
Well, I mean that.
The phone's not in on the call.
Whatever you're doing now, just leave it. Okay. Okay. Wally, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so.
I'm here. I'm in the past.
Oh, he's here in the past. You see what he did?
I'm about 20 seconds in the past.
Okay. So my point is the same Greek word.
I'm about 20 seconds in the past. How are things in the future? How are things in the future? Sori and Vin.
Okay, you know what?
I've heard great things about the future.
Good Lord. Okay, here's what we need to do. I need you to text in Skype chat. I'm going to hang up. Text me your phone number, and I'll just call you directly. And we'll do that instead of Skype. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to hang up now, and then you're going to call me.
Message us your number. Drews can do it as if you just threw your girlfriend under the bus like that. What the hell's the matter with you?
What did he say? I like when guys...
My girlfriend is snoring right now.
Take a picture and show it to us. Put it in the thing.
You're terrible. Terrible, terrible.
I'm not sleeping because of the stream. Thank you, KZ. See, now the phone is open, and the guy that said Jesus equals Mithras is curiously not calling.
Some of you guys are so funny.
I know.
Oh, man.
That was secretly Doug.
You know, I wish I could remember who Doug is in one of these chat things.
I know. What time is it there, Vin?
1:52 a.m.
1:52.
Okay, Kia.
Can you prove that Dave Mustaine secretly isn't Satan?
Yikes.
Okay.
Did you ever read the Secret Gospel of Luke? I never read that.
I've read a bunch of Gnostic Gospels.
Jason Kramer, holy crap, I finally caught one.
Call from a 666 area code. Okay, so Lilo is a young lady, and then Ben is a young man. I recommend listening to Baby Metal.
Yeah, well, you can't listen to Baby Metal on YouTube or you'll get strikes. And if you get 3 strikes, they will shut your freaking channel down.
Somebody has a Wing Chun channel. Yes, we're going to do more Headlonger. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Do you think faith and belief are the same? I think they are synonymous. At least in Greek they are. Where do you think the dichotomy is before faith, between faith and belief?
I like Devin Townsend too, Mr. Mason.
Yes. Baby Metal is awful.
You like it though, huh?
I like Baby Metal.
If I call, I get charged money. The wife won't let me, LOL.
Who said that?
But I don't know. C. Gregory. Can you
if he does it
do
on
a call
Skype,
through Skype or Messenger or something?
If you have Skype, if you download Skype on your phone, you'll be able to do it.
Do you know where my phone is, honey?
I don't know where your phone is.
What? I've got it.
Dave Mustaine's voice sounds exactly like what I would imagine Satan's voice to sound like. Yikes. What's your Skype? Vin and
Space
Sori.
Where's my computer's at 100? Okay.
I've never heard of the trolley problem experiment. Is that the one where, like, you either save your kid or you save a whole bunch of people?
Oh, I never liked that one.
Is it that one? Okay, we're gonna call the guy.
Yep.
Okay. You've done a lot back. I ain't gonna do any Christian metal. Yeah. We're gonna. We did one Christian metal band. It's just that there isn't like a big demand for it. So. Yeah. Or just Five Strangers verse 1. That's the trolley problem, right? I would save my son. I mean, the only time the trolley thing would be a dilemma for me is if it was my son versus, like, Sori, or my son versus, like, my other kids. But, like, my son versus the whole world, I would save my son. What? That's not even a dilemma for me.
I'm confused because you're saying my name in that sentence. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is Sori. And Vin is here. So now there's no delay, so we can have a normal conversation. We'll put you on speakerphone,
okay.
And then you can just talk like regular.
One Stranger verse 5.
No, you just keep your phone like regular, and I'll put mine on speakerphone, and then everybody can hear. But make sure your computer is muted, so that way you won't hear us in the background. Okay? All right. Vin, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Can I hear him?
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Thrasher?
I think we're all caught up now.
Hello. Thrasher, are you there?
It's not quite synced.
Like, what do you mean? Is it still...
Just all the way. Anyway.
Okay, so can
I'm here.
Okay, so say again what happened.
A well-living pastor came to my home, and I was attending. A well-living pastor came. Hold on, this is messed up. Speaking to the phone, Ben.
Some kind of pastor?
Am I speaking into the phone, or am I speaking into the headphones?
You're speaking to the phone, bro.
Well, the delay is crazy on my end. Okay. A well-living pastor came to my home, and we were talking about the passage in Corinthians where it says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, etc. It's a well-known passage. A lot of people use it in their weddings. And he informed me that at that time that he was educated in the scripture, blah blah blah, whatever, and that the word should be charity there. And in many instances in the Bible, the word should be charity instead of love. In other words, he was saying that there is no love, only charity, is how I took it at the time. And it drove me away from God instead of towards him. I wanted to hear your take on that.
Okay, So my take on that is that the Greek language, which 1 Corinthians 13 was written in, as well as the rest of the New Testament, the Greek language has multiple words for love. So there's a love between a man and a woman. There's love between brothers. And then there's love that is a one-directional love, which is agape. It's the love that you give to a person without expecting anything in return. And so that love is what you see in 1 Corinthians 13 when it says love is patient, love is kind. It's the highest form of love. Your friend who said this is charity, it shouldn't be translated love, is not being consistent, and I think that's a poor translation, and here's why I'm making that argument. In John 3:16, where it says God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, it's the same exact Greek word. It's agape. It says God so agaped the world, right?
He wasn't a friend. He was a pastor.
Say again? Well, it doesn't matter if he's a pastor. What I'm explaining to you is that he wouldn't translate God so charitied the world that he gave his only son, right?
He wasn't a friend. He was a pastor.
Okay. Well, your pastor wouldn't say God so charitied the world that he gave his only son.
Well, maybe he would. Maybe God so...
Well, if he did, he's wrong.
Maybe God so pitied the world.
Well, the word...
Maybe he would.
Okay.
Maybe he would. That's my point.
What I'm saying is that there's no translation that would say that in John 3:16, and the reason is that the word agape simply means love. That's all it means. That's the direct translation. So it's on him to make that semantical argument. So it's just not true.
The Jewish people say he should not try to.
Say again?
The Jewish people say you should not try to say the word. The Jewish people that I know say you should not try to say the word.
The Jewish people don't want us to pronounce the tetragrammaton because they're afraid you're going to take his name in vain, but that's not the same word as love. That's a completely different language and a completely different word. We'll talk some more, though. Thank you very much for calling in. Anybody else want to call in?
Somebody was trying to call, but I had to hang up on them because the other person was calling.
Rude.
Listen to this. That would be interesting if the word was charity there. Ben Webb said, that makes it sound like God was like giving the world to somebody. I'm like, well, and I'm in the middle of saying, I said, well, he kind of was. The Father said to Jesus, ask me and I'll give you the nations as an inheritance for you.
That's true.
So he was kind of giving it to him.
A good argument, but
it is?
It's not a good semantical argument.
Oh, kiss me.
Huh?
Kiss me.
I'd like to call him, but I know it's not. Dirk Diggler. What do you want to talk about, Dirk? Is Dirk in here?
Here's a Skype call.
Okay.
Ooh.
Hello.
I wish you would do that. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey. Hold on. I'm trying to get... Oh, fuck. Sorry.
Is that what
I'm
you
trying
want us to
get
call?
everything.
Is that what you want us to call you?
What's your name, sir?
You can just call me Billy.
Dilly?
Sorry, this is the first time I've used Skype in like a year, so I'm just trying to get all the ins and outs of everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's up, Dilly?
I just want to call you guys, and honestly, I identify as a Satanist, so I just want to call and I just have a chat about that.
Wait, you're a Satanist?
I do identify and as a Satanist. I just want to call in and just have a chat about that.
Okay. What type of Satanist are you?
Just a Satanist, honestly. I think it kind of defeats the point of Satanism to say, like, oh, I'm a LaVeyan, I'm a this, I'm a that, because Satanism, to me, is supposed to be about free individual thought.
Well, why don't you just be a Christian, then?
Because I just don't identify with Christianity. I've never really felt that. I don't know. I've just never really felt the connection to Christianity.
Well, isn't Satanism a form of Christianity? I mean, isn't he a biblical character?
I don't myself, and I'm going to. Well, let me explain my view on this. I'm not like literal, as in like I don't worship Satan as like an actual like, as in like he's a literal thing. To me, it's like it's all literature, and he's just like this literary embodied for rebellion and free thought.
Okay, so he's an archetypical representation of rebellion and free thought.
Rebellion, just very archetypical.
Well, why call yourself a Satanist? Why don't you just call yourself a free thinker? What do you need Satan for?
Because honestly, I just identify with the archetype personally. I guess Satanist is kind of a loose term, because like there's actually plenty of other gods I identify from a literary perspective, like say like Loki, for example.
Okay, so no disrespect, but it just seems that you're very, very interested in theological and mythological literature, and you kind of take the bad characters from those books and identify with those. I mean, is that pretty much...
I find that bad is relative, because a lot of these characters are in my opinion, I just identify with the characters who are less black and white per se.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I think another example I'll use is say Kali. Kali is like, or like Lilith or something.
Yep.
Because honestly, to me, it's like not worshiping, because I don't worship any deities, but it's pretty much the same as like, it's honestly, I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of the same as calling myself a Darth Vaderist.
Right. How old are you?
I am 22.
Okay. All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that perspective.
Oh, anytime. I just thought I'd call in, and if nothing else, I just kind of wanted to kind of give the impression that like Satanists, we aren't just like, child murdering maniacs.
When did I ever say that?
Oh no, you never said that. Someone said it's like, oh, I'm kind of scared of Satanists, and I just want to call them. It's like, hey, we're normal people. You can talk to us.
Oh, I see what you're saying. All right,
Yeah.
my man. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Stop following Satan. Have a good one.
All right.
Okay, so the way to call in is to get on Skype, and you look us up as Vin and is one word. Then there's a space. Then it says sorry.
Sori is so proud of her album.
I so am. I wish I had a CD player that the kids hadn't destroyed, because I would have already been listening. Yeah, somebody sent it to me. Well, they sent it to us, but I take it as a personal gift for me. You have your corn shirt because it makes sense, because it's a large fit. And this Ghost album makes sense that it would be mine.
I don't know. I'm going to check right now. So
What?
is that, what he's asking is the loved and God loved Jacob but hated Esau in Romans 9.
What kind of love is it?
The same Greek word. Was it Romans 9:13?
This is the best gum if you like the flavor of grape. Arctic
It's
grape.
disgusting. It's
Yeah, I know.
gross.
He's not the typical black guy that likes grape
Gross.
flavor.
As if you just said that racist shit. That's
What?
terrible.
It's true. Everybody else that I've met likes grape.
Yes, it's actually the same Greek word. He agape Jacob. I will call you. What are you going to call me about? Anthony Flanagan? Vin, I have a question. I have noticed that you have a fascination with Islam and being a father. How you reconcile the fact the Quran condones pedophilia? What surah and ayah condones pedophilia?
He doesn't like watermelon either. Aaron, I think we'll be on for a while. You have time to do whatever you need to do.
I'm gonna agape some ice cream. If you agape it, you wouldn't eat it. There's over 100. Did you hear this, babe? There's 100 passages in the Quran that condones pedophilia. Well,
what?
What are you talking about?
Leslie, are you serious? How many kids do you have?
Why? What happened?
They broke 3 CD players. What is wrong with kids? Like, back in the day, would you have broke a CD player? I wouldn't have.
Yo, Vin, I'm in bed with my girl. You should be married. And we're watching. She wants to know whether demons has to be cast into the pig.
How do you know they're not married? You call me your girl.
To be cast... He's not. To be cast into the pigs and drove them into the ocean. What's the significance of that? So there's a couple things. One is prior to being cast into the pig, they were begging not to be thrown into the abyss. Which means a couple things. One, the mythology that demons and the devil like kind of rule in hell and like hell is their home base and their domain is obviously not true. They were scared to death of being thrown into hell or the abyss. That's number one. Number two, it means that Jesus has complete and total command over who goes into the abyss and demons. Which would mean that God is Lord over hell, not Satan. Number three, it means that demons are so evil that if they couldn't destroy this man, then the only thing they could think to do was destroy the animal. And so it tells you something of the destructive nature of demons and the forces that people play around with. These are extremely malevolent creatures who are so full of hate that they want to see something be destroyed and ruined and killed. And Jesus said in John chapter 10, the enemy comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And so they knew they were oppressing this particular man, and because men are the pinnacle of God's creation, they were enjoying themselves very well. And when Jesus showed up, they realized that they couldn't do that anymore. And so they the next best thing for them was to be able to basically just destroy these people. Now,
this is Sori.
On the other hand,
hello.
That's what it tells us about the demons. On the other hand,
hello. Who's this?
It does do something interesting because the pigs were the financial the main financial money grab for the surrounding town, right? That's how they made their money. And so when Jesus, knowing that these pigs were going to be destroyed by these demons, he lets it happen because he's forcing these people of the town to say, what's more important to you? Knowing that God is in your midst or your pocketbook? And as you see at the end of the narrative, the people basically say, my pocketbook's more important. And they tell Jesus to leave because he was messing with their pocketbook. So there's a lot of things going on in that narrative. So there you are. That's the answer to the question, Dirk's girl. Who's this?
This is Dan.
Dan who?
Well, maybe he doesn't want to say his last name.
Okay, what's up, Dan?
Hey, what's up, man? Just wondering, I sent the message about faith and belief.
Yep.
And I was just curious. You said you thought they were synonymous, but I grew up Roman Catholic or whatever, and it always seemed like they drove home faith and belief were the same thing. But I always felt that belief was kind of human beings' twist on the narrative of Jesus, which was faith-driven. You know, that he did say, believe in me, and you will have the keys to the kingdom, or whatever. I was never really a devout Catholic, so excuse my my poor iteration of the narrative.
That's fine.
I always thought that people always did more dramatic things with belief in their heart than they actually did with faith. So I was just wondering your stance on that, because belief is tricky when you talk about the human condition to essentially maybe change somebody's point of view than if they just have faith in things.
I think what you're trying to touch on is something that's actually very real, which is, I always say this. I always say there's a divine version of something and then a human version of something. And the divine version of a thing is always pure and good, and the human version it generally leads to everybody being in a bad situation. So, like, let me give you an example. Love. You say, okay, well, love is good. Love is good all around. Just love people. I've talked to people. I talked to a guy. Sori was actually there, where he told me, he said, my brother is going to die. And I said, why is your brother going to die? And he said, he's on heroin. And I said, well, that's really terrible. Well, why don't you work to get him out of his condition? And he said that his mother supplies him with heroin. You remember that conversation?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
I said, well, why would she do that? And his answer was, she loves him. Well, that's a very human understanding of love, because of course what she's saying is she wants him to be happy, and when he goes through withdrawals he looks like hell, and you know, when he gets his fix he looks better, right? So she loves him, she doesn't, but that's a corrupt form of love because it's killing him.
Very true.
Whereas
wouldn't you
go ahead.
Wouldn't you say, though, somebody that is very devout in their beliefs falls under the same victimization as those under that same guidance?
I agree. And so the analogy I was making was, just like love can be corrupted, even something as pure and beautiful as love can be corrupted, right?
Yes.
Faith, belief, whatever you want to call it, can also be corrupted if it's not coming from a divine source.
Sure.
And so the dichotomy that you're making linguistically isn't there in the New Testament. I'm pretty sure the word for faith is pistuo. That's the Greek term.
Okay.
And in your English Bible, it'll go between faith or belief. It'll do the same thing.
Okay.
So it doesn't make that distinction in the Greek language, but I do think you're onto something, which is there's a human version of faith or belief, and then there's a divine version. And you put faith in the human sector, it's going to get screwed up, and a lot of people are going to die. Let me put it that way.
And that's one of my big things. Like I said, I was raised Roman Catholic, and it was always hard for me to swallow because it was a very stern doctrine towards you have to live in a certain manner. My father was Lutheran. My mother was raised Roman Catholic. We weren't, we would go on like Christmas and Easter, sure, but I was raised through Catholic catechism and everything like that, but it was always puzzling to me. It was always, and I think you brought this up in the last chat, the ladder climbing.
Yep.
And I've always felt that organized religion in a certain sense is based upon a ladder climb as opposed to the underlying meaning of what Jesus preached. And so in turn, the human condition is always predicated on being right and being firm and being adamant. And that's what I've always viewed. Sorry if I'm talking loudly, but belief is based upon those ambitions. And I've always felt that faith in itself is easier to transition. I have faith that people are inherently good, but I also have faith in the fact that people will let me down. To where if I believe that people are inherently good, it's a harder pill to swallow when people will fail you, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I think for me, like, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to religion and stuff, and I just have the belief that if a person opens up the Gospels, if I were to just give you the Gospels, if I were to give you the Gospel of John, and I said just read it for 30 days, right? Just keep, when you get to the end, go back to chapter 1, keep reading it for 30 days, and follow the Jesus that you meet there. You're going to be fine. You don't need me to tell you anything. Now, you may have questions. Why did he say this? Why did he say that? Right? But the encounter and the confrontation, because he will confront you, even as he's like confronting the people in the narrative.
Yeah.
You quickly begin to see that he's talking to you too, right?
Yeah.
And so that's just what I tell people: read the Gospel of John, read it for 30 days, and do your best to try to figure out what he's saying. And I think you'll come out understanding what you need to know.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Love your show.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, brother. Bye.
It's a good call. You had a good mic.
I know people were like, yes.
Matthew Winter disagrees with me, so call me up, Matthew Winter.
Leslie, I don't know how to give money. You can ask, somebody else can answer it. I don't know how to do that super chat. Or you can go to PayPal, and it's Vin and Sori merch.
We're like the worst business people.
I know.
We don't know any of this stuff.
I know.
Why are we so ignorant?
I don't know. You can make a donation through PayPal too.
Maybe Kai can help us. Kai seems to know everything.
Mr. Mason just said
ask Kai
that there's a little money sign.
Oh,
click
there's
on the
a dollar sign
in the chat thing. Oh, in the little chat box is a dollar sign.
Okay, so who's on the phone?
You're live, so.
You're live, sir. Hello? Hello? Okay.
Did you get the video I sent you today of your friend?
Hello?
Michael Penna says.
Matthew.
Stop saying people.
Hey.
He's Matthew in the chat, babe.
Oh, okay.
I said Matthew disagrees with
give me just a second. Let me turn YouTube off. I think it'll sound a little better.
You don't need to turn YouTube off. You can mute him.
Damn, Kevin.
Yeah, okay.
Bye, Cody.
All right, Mr. Winter. Go for it.
Hey. Okay, so in response to the last caller, I was trying to get on, but I don't know if you guys know how to conference yet. So, I think faith and belief are two different things, but they're kind of two sides of the same coin at the same time. Kind of the head heart kind of thing. Belief is kind of the knowledge piece, and then faith would be like the heart piece. I walked around for 17 years of my life with just a head full of belief, basically knowledge on what I believed was true, and I never had the heart piece. Until my life got all screwed up and stuff, and God said, hey, this is what happens without me. So then I was able to have that faith piece. So, I don't know. Where are you at on that?
Well, the term pistuo in the Gospel of John is belief. Whoever believes in him,
Right.
Whoever believes in his name. That's not presented as just mere head knowledge.
Right. 100%.
So I think you get from God, and then there is a belief and a faith that's originated from human sinfulness, and you can only tell the difference by what happens as time goes on.
Right. Well, by the fruit and all that too.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you end up trying to murder
Paul
Jesus,
talks about the mind a lot, though. You've got Romans chapter 12. The renewing of the mind. And then the author of Hebrews, whoever that is, Barnabas, Apollos, Paul, whoever.
Priscilla.
There's several spots in Hebrews where you kind of get this picture that there are people who have a knowledge of the truth but don't believe it, or don't have faith in it, and they're not there yet.
No, I agree. I agree for sure.
And I lived there for a long time, actually. So,
A lot of reformed people do.
Yeah. So it's an important topic to me.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you 100, man.
All right. So that's it, I guess.
All right, my brother.
So love always, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Taking a couple more callers. This again, Peter. Hello. 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 What's going on, sir?
Two at once.
What's up?
Take the next one.
Audio is too bad. I'm sorry.
Next caller. That's what they always say.
Next caller. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Who's this?
Hi, this is Mac.
What's going on, Mac? What can I do for you today, sir?
Oh, just finally made it to one of these. I was curious as to what do you think ultimately the utility of religion is?
To glorify God and enjoy Him forever.
So, let's see, where do I want to go with this? So, to you, it's ultimately a matter of service, not personal gain.
Well, I just said enjoy Him forever. That's a personal gain, isn't it?
Well, the first thing you said was glorify, so it's a transaction then, right?
No. Then you'd have to ask the question, what does it mean to glorify God? Right?
Okay, let's do that. That's fine by me.
Okay.
What is glorifying God?
Okay, so like I'm doing a metal channel with my wife, right?
Yep.
And I do a song. And then inevitably we get hundreds of people saying, do Pantera, do Metallica, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, Kirk Hammett is the greatest guitarist of all time. Right?
Sure.
Now, you may or may not agree. Right?
I'm willing to suspend my disbelief.
Now, why is that person saying that Kirk Hammett is the greatest guitarist of all time?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Well, I'm asking you. Why do you think they're saying that?
Presumably they either don't know all guitarists, or they do, and whatever he does just amuses them more.
Well, I mean, the solo in Fade to Black is more than just amusing, right?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
The solo in Fade to Black, that's more than just amusing.
I mean, depending on, how much emphasis you want to put on the word amusing, it's just amusing.
I disagree with you. I think that there's something very, very deep happening when a person enjoys music, especially as it concerns metal.
Why is metal special? I know this is a tangent, but just a quick curiosity.
Well, because there are certain genres that encourage more openness and honesty about emotion. So, for example, hardcore rap doesn't encourage vulnerability and weakness, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so when somebody says Kirk Hammett is the greatest guitarist of all time, what they're saying is they've had an experience with Kirk's playing that has touched them very significantly. Isn't that true?
You can find easily a few hundred of people who say that, but there's just as many who just appreciate his technicality in and of its own right.
Sure, and those folks are probably musicians themselves. They can understand scale work and all the rest of it. They're experiencing Kirk in a different way, and they can sit back and appreciate what he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either way, they're enjoying him. Isn't that true?
Yes.
So when they say,
For sure.
Huh?
For sure.
For sure. So when they say Kirk is the greatest, aren't they glorifying him? Aren't they bringing him glory? But the glory is the sort of climax of their joy in Kirk's playing for whatever reason they have, right?
Yeah, but that wouldn't happen if they didn't get their end of the bargain, which is his music.
Well, I agree with you. And what I'm saying to you is that when I say to glorify God and enjoy him forever, what I'm saying is God has such an impact on my life that I can't help but glorify him, not because he demands it of me, but because it's the climax of my experience with him. And we see this all over the place. If you're a foodie, if you love food, you're going to glorify a certain chef. If you love music, you're going to glorify a certain musician because of the joy that that musician or that food or that author gives to you.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. While I agree, you don't see a church of Kirk Hammett. You don't see a church of Gordon Ramsay.
And I'm grateful. I'm glad. Because they are human beings. I'm talking about the divine being.
Well, okay. The presumption there is, it's kind of begging the question because you're assuming that you're right and there is something to glorify. And as such, you believe that it's worth glorifying because you believe it's there.
No, that's a completely separate question. You asked me what was the utility in faith or Christianity.
Well, yeah, but that was,
I'm explaining.
A pathway to the more pressing question.
Well, now, what is the question now?
Well, okay. If you think that there's utility in religion, that utility must stem from somewhere, and we're getting to that somewhere.
Okay, so ask the question.
So, without assuming... How do I phrase this? This is kind of rough. Without assuming that there is innate utility, where do you derive the utility from? Is it just the act of glorifying God in its own right?
Well, I mean, I don't really see how you could separate. How do you slice that question? I mean, you had a hard time formulating it, and I think you're having a hard time formulating it because it's almost a nonsense question, and I mean nonsense in the technical term.
Right.
So I think that's why you're having a hard time formulating the question.
Well, clearly
the utility has to do with the fact that God is ultimate reality, and so if you want to be aligned with ultimate reality, then you should align yourself with God. I mean,
but that's only true if you already believe that he's ultimate reality, in which case the utility is obvious.
Okay, well, what do you believe?
Well, I'm an atheist.
Okay. How do you determine what reality is?
Through what I can, my senses, I suppose.
Well, you use your reason, right? Like if you were blind, you'd still be able to...
I'll stick the senses for my answer for now.
Okay, so if you were... Well, I mean, so let's say that you were deaf and blind. Are you saying deaf and blind people can't ascertain reality?
Deaf and blind people certainly have a way harder time ascertaining reality.
But is it impossible for them to ascertain reality?
Certain aspects of it, sure.
What part of your octave nerve understands the law of non-contradiction?
None of it.
Okay. So it has to be your reason and not just your senses, right?
Well, okay. If you want to get like that granular about it, literally all of reality is just neurons firing in your brain.
Well, to you,
also,
because
people have other senses.
I'm living in your world because you're claiming that you're an atheist, right?
Yeah.
So the only way that you can ascertain reality is by using your reason, right?
I don't want to say using your reason, because using your reason sounds great in practice, but people are wrong all the time. So I'll stick to using your senses.
You're playing chess, and it's a ridiculous move that you're making, because nothing about your senses tells you anything about reality unless it's filtered through reason. For example, if you're in a desert, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it true that your eyes could fool you?
Sure.
That's why we have mirages, right?
Sure, yeah.
Your ears can do the same thing.
Yep.
So there's got to be something higher than your senses to gauge reality, because if it's only your eyes, then you're screwed. Because, I mean, shoot, computer graphic imagery can screw with your sense of reality, couldn't it?
Sure.
Okay, so then you have to use your reason ultimately for you to be able to ascertain what reality is, don't you?
When you say reason, do you mean like just higher brain function?
Nope. I mean your ability to put logical syllogisms together to come to a conclusion.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Continue.
So we agree that your reason is the ultimate way by which an atheist can ascertain what reality is. Isn't that true?
Sure.
Now, how do you test whether or not your reason is sound?
How do we test if my reason is sound? Repeatability and predictive capability.
So you're using your reason to gauge whether or not your reason is sound.
No. Well, okay. Consistency is key. If my reason is flawed, but it allows me to make consistent predictive capabilities, then it's good enough.
But don't you see that you're using reason to justify your reason? What you just gave me is a logical syllogism, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a logical syllogism with utility.
It's fine. I'm sure it carries a ton of utility. But what you've just done is you've used your reason to justify your reason.
But it works.
I'm not judging whether or not it works. I just want you to understand that.
Well, that's what utility is. Does it work or not?
Well, hold on. What I want you to understand is that your worldview is inherently circular, isn't it? Because you're saying that without God, the only way you can ascertain reality is through your reason, but then the only way you can test whether or not your reason is accurate is through your own reasoning.
Well, the entire field of mathematics is circular too, but it has utility because it's consistent.
Okay. So now we'll jump back into my universe. So when you said that my worldview only works if I assume that my God exists, I would say correct. So both of us are in a situation where we have we're getting circular at the end of it, right?
Yeah, but if you use mine, it's not actually mine. Like plenty of people have this viewpoint, but you don't have predictive capability. Cool. So, but that's my point. You can't. There's no expectation, no reasonable expectation of outcome with that, whereas there is with traditional science and mathematics.
Okay. What outcome does your worldview guarantee you that mine does not?
Consistency and fulfilling of expectations.
What are you talking about? What inconsistency does my worldview have in regard to expectations?
Well, you can never be sure. If all you do is think, ask and ye shall receive, God will provide, you can't actually be sure that will happen.
Well, see, what's happening is that, and I'm trying to be, how do I phrase this?
No.
Okay. So because of your lack of familiarity with the Bible, you're making assumptions as to what my view of the world is. But this is why I said you're relying on your own reason to justify your own reasons, and you're completely wrong. The Bible nowhere, if you read the Bible as a whole, the only thing that's guaranteed is that God...
Like, do you mean actually guaranteed or just like reasonably expected?
Yeah, like the real world. What is your atheistic worldview guarantee you tomorrow?
Oh, you didn't really answer my question. Do you mean like actually a hard guaranteed or just like reasonably expected?
A hard guarantee, because I just told you what a hard guarantee is in my worldview. So I want a hard. What is your worldview give you as for a hard guarantee?
Well, a hard guarantee, nothing, and that's okay.
Okay, so right there, when you're talking about utility, I've got a worldview that gives me a hard guarantee. You don't.
Well, I can make very, very like unsubstantiated guarantees as well.
Well, no, because in your worldview, there's no God, and all you have is your own reason to ascertain reality, which is on a very shaky foundation, which you've already admitted. So I'm jumping in your universe.
The laws of physics aren't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm talking about utility. I mean, in the real world, bro, what does that have to do with anything? Like, you're not thinking about the laws of physics every day, are you? Like that.
Well, that's why I brought up predictive capability in the first place. Laws of physics have very, very strong predictive capability.
You think Christians don't believe in the laws of physics?
No, but I'm saying Christians can have the laws of physics. Atheists can have the laws of physics. Christians' additional belief in God doesn't give them any utility above the laws of physics they already had.
Sure it does. What are you talking about? I know that tomorrow, if my entire world collapsed, that I'm still loved by God. I'm still created in His image and likeness, and He still has a plan for my life, and that everything that happens to me is the best possible thing that could happen to me because God is for me. You, on the other hand,
you don't actually know that.
Say again?
Like that's not a guarantee in the way you asked me. What do I have guaranteed for tomorrow?
Well, yeah, no, it is a guarantee because, like I said, I'm operating from my base view of the world. You're operating from your base view of the world. If we want to jump into your universe, then that's fine. But you're asking me about my own utility. I'm explaining to you from my perspective of the world what it is. You, on the other hand, if your world collapsed tomorrow, you have none of those. You have the what did Bertrand Russell said? That despair was the only scaffolding that you have to build your world on, is what he said. So I don't really see the.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't really see the. I don't really see a lot of practical utility from an atheistic worldview, to be honest with you. From a moral perspective, from a epistemic perspective, there just seems to be a lot of theistic worldview borrowing that happens almost unconsciously in an atheistic worldview in order to make the world work.
Well, it seems to be a mismatch in values more than anything. You value being loved by something out there that doesn't have predictive capability, while also
Why do
having
you
the
keep
predictive
saying?
capability
Hold on, brother. Hold
Hold
on. Why do you keep saying doesn't have predictive capability? I just told you that we do have predictive capability because we can predict that he's going to love me tomorrow. From my worldview, that's a fact.
No, I'm talking like tangible predictive capability.
Define, what does tangible mean?
I know this is a rather out of context example, but it's the best thing I can come up with in 3 seconds. But like Newton's laws of motion. I don't know. I'm just picking something. Like very, very useful. If I throw a ball, I can basically do the math and figure out where it lands. You can't just know God loves you and know where that ball is going to land. I'm not saying that Christians don't have the option of using Newton's laws of motion. All I'm saying is that the additional God thing doesn't help them at all.
Newton was a Christian, so I'd hope we'd be able to use that, considering that's our guy.
Well, yeah, but that's besides the point.
Well, it's not beside the point because it was Newton's theism that drove him into his scientific method. Have you ever read Newton's works?
I mean, like, Newton's motivation is ultimately not relevant to the point that I'm trying to make.
We're talking about utility, and you're trying to pit science against faith. And then
No, I'm not trying to hold up. I'm not trying to pit science against faith at all. I'm just saying faith and science can coexist as much as I don't care about that.
Well, it absolutely it coexisted in Newton's world, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It coexists just fine. I'm just saying, like,
okay,
it didn't give, like, Newton's laws didn't come from God. Like, that's Newton's work.
Nope, not according to Newton. I mean, you can disagree. You can disagree with a man. You can disagree with him, but you don't misrepresent him. That's what he thought. He thought that he was thinking God's thoughts after him. And you're trying to say that the basis of his entire endeavor, which he spoke about multiple times, you're saying that's irrelevant to his work.
I'm saying it didn't add to his work.
Okay, what I'm saying is he said that it was the basis and grounding foundation of his work. But here you come in 2018 saying that he is wrong about that, about his own work and his own motivations.
People are wrong about their own motivations all the time. What are you talking about?
Okay, so you know more about Newton's motivations than Newton. I mean, is that a little bit arrogant?
No, I'm not saying I know. Okay, I know. I believe that was his motivation. I'm okay with that. I don't need to disprove his motivation. If he wants to be motivated by God, that's fine. I don't care.
So then it had a ton of utility for the world, didn't it? His belief in God.
But it wasn't necessary.
Can you answer that question?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Newton's belief in God had a ton of utility for the world, didn't it?
That's fair. If it inspires people, I can see that it has some utility.
Okay, good. You know what else has utility? Millions of people have decided not to take very violent, fatal actions because of the example of Jesus Christ. That carries a ton of utility in the world too.
Wouldn't you rather that utility comes from within rather than some outside force?
Hell no, I wouldn't rather that. What are you talking about? Have you looked at the 20th century?
Sorry, what was that? It cut out.
Have you seen the 20th century?
I mean, like, I live in it.
No, bro. No, we don't want people to come up with their own utility from within. That's crazy. That's how we get experimenting on other people and all that shit.
I mean, you gotta understand, from my perspective, literally all of it came from within, because I don't believe there is something outside.
Yeah, bro, but you asked me a question. You said,
yeah, I'm just trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, and that's how we're having a conversation. You're asking, wouldn't I want the utility to come from within instead of from without? No. We need something from without to be the objective arbitrator of what's right or wrong. Otherwise, we get 150 million dead bodies.
I understand why you think that, but from my perspective, that's extremely silly. Because I don't think there is something that gave them the motivation. So it's not really a convincing argument for me.
Well, I mean, let me try to say it this way.
Sure.
You're saying that everyone's utility, it's preferable if utility comes internally instead of externally. And I
believe all of it already did come in internally.
I'm saying you asked me a question, brother.
Yes, I did. Sorry.
Okay. And then you're going, oh, this is ridiculous. Bro, if you get 10 people in a room and one of them has a gun and he feels that what's going to be, especially if we're operating on just plain cold utility, I got a gun, bro, and you got $1 million. I'm going to kill you and take your $1 million because that's what's inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing stops me from your view of the world. You have no fighting chance at all. That's why I'm saying internalized utility is a nightmare. Because it will 100% of the time inevitably lead to people being dead. And you know how I know that? All of us know that. Look at The Purge. You seen that movie?
I know the general concept.
Yeah, how comes when the government says you can do whatever you want for a day, nobody's robbing Walmart to feed homeless people? You know what they're doing?
I mean, that would make for such an uninteresting movie, though.
You know why it's uninteresting? Because it's not realistic. All of us know inherently.
That's not why it's uninteresting. There's reality TV.
You know why it's you know why it's interesting? You know why nobody looks at The Purge and goes, "Oh, that could never happen." Because everybody would be scared to death if the government says, "Hey, all bets are off. Anybody can do what they want to do." You want to live in that world?
Some people do live in that world.
I'm asking you.
A few of them are fine.
Would you like to live in a world where the government said anything that can be done to anyone can be done with zero repercussions? Would you want to live in that world for a day?
Well, no, but I believe the government is real.
Okay, so what you just explained to me is then you and I both agree that when people come up with their own internalized versions of what utility is, it's going to turn into a bloodbath. And no matter what you say, the government is an external force that's dictating to us what the best utility is in a given society. That's all you're doing. So that's what I'm saying is like your view of the world doesn't match practical reality.
I mean, I could tell you that too.
No, you can't tell me that because I could be internally consistent with my view of the world. I would love it if everybody followed God's law and followed the way of Christ in the world. I would love that. If the government says everybody has to follow the way of Jesus, everybody has to practice the Sermon on the Mount, I would love that world. But you wouldn't want a world where everybody got to follow their own internal utility. And that's how you know whether or not you have a righteous circle or a vicious circle.
I live in a world where everyone's following their internal utility.
Say again?
I already think that's the case.
Well,
because I don't believe in God, so I already think that's the case. This is the world I imagine when it's happening.
No. And here's why. Because you live in a culture, I'm assuming you're in the Western world.
Yes.
Okay. You live in a culture that is completely entrenched in Christian thought, practice, and jurisprudence. So you have no idea what it's like for people to choose their own internal utility, unless you look at the history books, and then you can see what happened in the USSR, or you can see what happened in Nazi Germany, or you can see what happened in the antebellum South when people practice.
You can look at the Crusades. I mean, I didn't want to resort to that, but like,
no, let's talk about. No, I'm with you, brother. Let's talk about the Crusades. Tell me what part of the Sermon on the Mount was followed in the Crusades.
Oh, none of it.
Okay, so that doesn't fit with my worldview, then, does it?
I mean, sure, okay, but
okay,
it's still under the banner of Christianity.
No.
We're talking about convictions, not like
let's be reasonable.
Actually following anything.
Let's be reasonable here. I gave you something very specific. I said the teachings of Jesus, right? That's what I said. So let's just stay with that.
Well, every Christian thinks they're following the teachings of Jesus.
No. Not every Christian. Bro, let me ask you a question. Is there an objective body of work that determines what Christianity is?
Define objective.
Well, let me ask you this question. Can I just make up my own religion and call it Christianity?
You can call it whatever you want.
Would it be
Christianity too? Electric Boogaloo for all I care.
Would it? Isn't there an objective set of teachings that defines what Christianity is?
Sure.
Okay, then. So that being the case, we can refer back to those actions and compare them to the actions of the teacher and the first followers, right? That's how we ascertain who's following what, right?
Well, the original argument started because convictions leading to utility. Because your original argument was, since you are convinced someone out there is objectively saying this is right, this is wrong, which the Crusaders also thought.
No, that's not. No, bro. You asked me what the utility was in faith, and I said to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. I didn't say anything about rules or anything like that. What are you talking about?
Do you think the Crusaders were glorifying God, or rather, do you think they believed they were?
No, bro. How can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How much Crusader literature have you actually read? Like, name me the main players during the Crusade.
Oh, I could not tell you. To be entirely honest, I could not tell you.
Okay, I'm not mad at you. Thank you for being honest. Okay, No, the Crusaders were not following the teachings of Jesus Christ. I can tell you that objectively.
I don't think they were either. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they were.
Okay, so why are we talking? Why are we talking about that?
Because I think they believed they thought.
No, they didn't.
They didn't even think they were?
No, they didn't. What they thought was the Muslims are going to take a very important trade route, and we can't let that fall into their hands because we've got to maintain power in the West. That's what they were saying.
Okay.
Okay, so we can dispense with that. And what I'm saying is you don't want to live in a world where people only follow their internal motivations without any external compulsion. You don't want to live in that world. I want to live in a world where people follow my worldview. So you don't want to live in a world with the ramifications of your worldview. And that to me says that there's something wrong with it.
I already think I do, and I'm perfectly content.
No, you don't. You don't live in that world,
yeah, of
bro.
Course I do. Unless you think I'm lying about being an atheist, I already do.
No, what I'm saying is it's convenient for you to be an atheist in the Western world that's drenched with Christian thought and jurisprudence. You don't want to live in a world like the Purge where Christian morals are suspended. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. But you don't realize it because you're a fish doesn't know it's wet. You've been born in Western culture, bro. I'm assuming.
You get a couple more people ready to call too.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. You honestly want a world where Christian morals are suspended and people can do whatever they feel internally motivated to do? You want that world? Be honest. Don't be a debater. Be honest.
I think calling them Christian morals is a little on the nose. I don't think Christians are not the only people who have... I mean, they're just good morals in general for the most part.
My friend,
they'd still be good morals independent of Christianity.
I'm not completely going to disagree with you, although there are very specific types of moralities that are distinctly Christian. But what I'm saying is you are in the Western world, which means that your understanding of morality is shaped by Christian thought. That's a fact. So let's forget about that. And what I'm asking you is, do you want to live in a Western world where that is suspended and then people can operate purely from their internal motivations? Be honest.
I'd say no.
And there, my friend, is the utility. Thank you very much. I'll let you have the last word, and then we got a bunch of other people that want to call.
I don't want to abuse the last word, so I'll let you guys go. Have a good day.
All right, much love, brother. Call again.
Maybe.
Cool.
All right, believe it or not.
Who's next?
You got your man, Ben Webb.
Ben Webb?
Yes!
No way!
Yes!
I don't believe it.
He's like, so don't take any calls right now, please.
Okay, I'm hanging up on everyone. This is Ben Webb,
Yeah, okay.
the big homie. What did he say? Like, Vin reminds me of a alternate universe, me, dumb black, and settled for a 3.
Yeah, that's what he said. Oh, okay.
You're a 3 plus 7, babe. That makes her a 10.
He said that he just doesn't want you blowing, because I was like, well, he wanted to know if we could do it like through the phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, but we asked for your phone number before, but you said we were perverts. So he said he just doesn't want you blowing up his phone after this call. So you have to agree.
All right,
that you're not
I'll agree that I'll only text him once a week. Sori is at least a 4.
Well, thank you.
I agree.
Okay, I don't know if you have to put the 1 there. Dang it. Stop calling, you guys.
No, I don't think I'm morally superior than anybody. That's what you're misunderstanding. My worldview is that we're all horrible sinners. I'm not morally superior to anybody. I'm so excited.
This is a big one. Is this Ben?
Is this Ben? Hey!
Well, hi.
Hi, what's up?
What's going on, big homie?
Not much. What's going on with you?
What's up, man? What you want to talk about?
I think with the last caller, you set up a trap and then stepped into it.
I set up a trap and stepped into my own trap?
Yes, you did.
Okay, go for it, brother.
So you were talking about how his logic is circular, and then you said your logic is circular. And then you guys were talking about the utility of it. But I think that almost invokes Pascal's wager. You're saying that you should believe in God because, well, it leads to heaven. Yours can never lead to that, therefore mine is better, right?
No. What I'm saying is in order for any of us to reason, we have to start with grounding presuppositions that will be inherently circular.
Sure, but I'm talking about once we've got out of being circular.
Whoa.
Why should we?
Hold on, because you just said sure, but that was a very significant agreement. Are you agreeing with me that what I just said is true?
I don't know if that's true.
Okay, but you don't know if it's not true.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's not true, and I have to give it more thought.
Okay, so you're agnostic on your epistemology.
Sure, we'll call it that.
Okay. All right, now go ahead.
So, once we're in, a series of circular logics, why should we choose your logic over any other circular logic, given you're saying that yours brings morality, but couldn't we imagine an infinite number of other things that bring the exact same morality?
No, I didn't say that mine was right because it brings morality. I said mine was right because it aligned with ultimate reality. The moral question came as sort of, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Right? I was just kind of like following where he was going.
Sure.
Okay. How does Pascal's wager factor into that?
Okay, because we could imagine an infinite number of gods, but I don't see why we're assuming yours is ultimate reality when we can imagine your exact God, but rewarding atheism or rewarding nihilism, but still the exact same outside of that. Meaning that there's an infinite number of other gods that have the exact same result as yours.
No, they don't.
We're assuming you're correct?
No. Hey, Ben, are you one of those people that believes Jesus never existed?
No.
Okay, you believe he existed. Okay. I'm going to answer your question.
He most likely existed. I don't think he was divine in any way. I think that it's just the story of it.
Okay, so what you just described is not Pascal's wager, my brother. But hold on for a second. I want to talk about something. There's this guy that Aaron Stollard, I think. He said Vin doesn't understand the circularity of his claims. Ben rightly pointed out that I said that my ultimate views were circular. My point is everybody's guiding presupposition is circular. So I don't maybe you jumped in the middle of the conversation, Aaron. Everybody's guiding presupposition is circular. Okay. So Ben, no, you don't have an infinite amount of possibilities. You've got about 3 major religions in the world, and then you got a bunch of little ones, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, Muhammad is dead. Moses is dead. Jesus rose from the dead. So you don't have an infinite amount of possibilities.
I don't see how that doesn't disallow I'm not sure how that excludes an infinite number of possibilities.
Because
just because they're not ones that you can imagine doesn't mean that they can't be.
Well, you have a problem of you have to come up with a historical figure because you and I are both agreeing that Jesus is an actual figure of history.
No, I don't.
I just asked you if you were one of those people that denied the existence of Jesus.
Right, and I'm not denying the existence of Jesus. I don't know why I need a historical figure to imagine a scenario that doesn't result in the same situation that we're currently in, that isn't reliant on a historical figure?
Because, my man, nobody is saying that Prometheus is a historical figure that walked the planet Earth.
I didn't bring up Prometheus.
I'm trying to explain something to you. When you say there's an infinite amount of gods or an infinite amount of possibilities, you can't say that when you're dealing with Christianity, because what we're saying is God actually came to the earth in the person of an actual human being. That cuts out bunches of people. So you can't just say that. You can't say, oh, there's an infinite amount of possibilities. No, tell me these historical figures, because this is what we're dealing with, a historical person now.
Maybe it's a historical figure on another planet we've never been to.
Okay, bro, I'm just dealing with the planet that I'm on and the people that I'm dealing with, right? You're talking about speculation. I'm talking about historical fact. Okay? So if we want to do thought experiments, fine. I'm just talking about actual history and human beings that can be found in actual history. You're getting hooey on me here, Ben.
Okay, so we have to pick a human that has existed at some point in history. But
yeah. And now,
how many humans have existed?
Okay.
Why couldn't any number of them have been Jesus? Why couldn't any combination of 2 or 3 have also been Jesus?
Because Jesus rose from the dead, and secondly, the time and the circumstances of his birth were predicted hundreds of years prior to that. So that knocks out millions and billions of people. He could only be Jewish. He had to come from the tribe of Judah. He had to be a male. That knocks out about 98% of all humans in human history.
Okay. But
so we went from an infinite amount of gods to only 2% of humans. Okay?
Sure, but there still could have been an infinite number of gods, right?
No. Because
why not?
I'm telling you why. Because Jesus rose from the dead, thereby giving him more credibility than any human being on the face of the earth.
Well, I'm also not one of those people that believe he rose from the dead.
Well, I know you don't, but we're speaking theoretically here. I mean, if you want me to go into the beliefs as why I believe that Jesus rose from the dead, I can do that. What I'm saying is this idea that there's what about Odin and what about, Thor and blah, blah, like it's
Well, now you're bringing up other gods. I mean,
well, you just said that there were, bro, you said there was an infinite amount. And I'm explaining to you that no, when it comes to the claims of Christianity, there is a very, 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 very small window and a very small group of people that could have made that claim.
But why are we operating within Christianity strictly when the original call was, from what I cut, keeping in mind I was actually in the other room for most of it, circular reasoning and why one circle is better than another. But couldn't you imagine an infinite number of circular logics that operate and get us into the same situation we're currently in?
No, because you don't have an infinite amount of people who walked on the planet Earth that are attested to historically. Secondly, the conversation wasn't initially about that. It was on the utility of belief in God.
Okay, so let's look at the utility of the belief in God.
I think he said the utility of worship, I think. What was the utility in worshiping God, I think is what he said. But go ahead.
Okay, well, I can even specifically go into that. What utility is there in worshiping God versus worshiping, I don't know, a glass of milk?
Have I ever told you my bus analogy?
Your what?
My bus analogy. So let's say me and you and who's here? Leah? Is Leah still here? Hey, Choi, Chuy. We're getting along. This is me and Ben's love language. Everybody loves everybody. There's Jeff. Weak argument number 4. Jeff, you can call up next, brother.
Well, no, we have other people.
Hold on, Ben's on the line. Ben. So it's me, it's you, it's Leah, it's Kyle Lade. We're all on a bus, right? Sori's on the bus, obviously, right? And we're traveling in the desert for some strange reason, and the bus breaks down, right? We're trapped literally in the middle of the desert, right?
Okay.
And we're all dying of thirst. in a very smelly way, right? And then I go out wandering, and I find like a legit oasis, like clean water, fresh water, all that good jazz, right?
All right.
So then I trek back to the bus. What do I say?
That you found an oasis?
Right. How am I going to say it? Would I say...
No, that's up to you.
Would I say, hey, Ben, I found an oasis? Or would I say, Ben, I found an oasis, we're going to live? Right? I would have some...
I don't know how chill you are in those situations.
Well, I love you, Ben, so the prospect of saving you from dying of thirst would make me very excited. So,
okay.
So I go to you and Leah and Sori, everybody in the car, in the bus, right? And I say, hey, guys, I got us some water. And everybody kind of looks at me and goes, yeah. And then I start saying, it's cold, it's fresh, Ben, you smell, you can take a shower, blah, 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 blah. And here's the point. Without that oasis, you were going to die, right? So there is a bunch of utility in me glorifying that oasis if it will lead you to that oasis, isn't there?
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm saying, Ben, is that this universe is a desert without Jesus, and you're going to die without him. That's what I'm saying. So there's a ton of utility in me worshiping Jesus. For myself and for everybody around me.
But you could make that exact same analogy and replace Jesus with any other deity, and you're in the exact same situation.
Okay, name one. Name a deity.
You just asked me to name a deity. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever been asked.
Well, I know. Just I'm not a very intelligent man, according to you. So please name one of these deities that we could replace that with.
That I could replace Jesus with?
Yep.
Thor. Why not?
Thor. Is Thor a historical person?
Are any of those, people... Well, okay, so Jesus might be a historical person.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean he has any form of divinity, so in this case, Thor is just as good as Jesus.
Okay, now you know that that's ridiculous, because what just happened is you admitted that Jesus is an actual person in history that we have to contend with, and Thor is not. So at minimum, you have to say at that level it's a false analogy, right? They're not the same thing, right?
Well, okay. So
Hold on, Ben.
Because we've already decided that Jesus isn't divine, fucking Pocahontas, right? I mean, it's just as divine as Jesus.
Okay, so now good. So I agree with you. Pocahontas is a historical figure. Excellent. Okay. When Pocahontas died, she stayed dead. When Jesus died, he rose from the dead. That's the difference.
But we can contend that Jesus rose from the dead. There's no real reason outside of the Bible stating that he did to believe it.
Really? Okay. So there's no reason outside of the Bible to believe that Jesus rose from the dead. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Okay. Please explain to me the explosion of Christianity in the first century.
See, I've always thought that this was a ridiculous one, and you've brought it up with multiple people.
Well, it's
what would you be saying right now?
I know it's so ridiculous.
Just popular.
It's so ridiculous. Just please explain it to me, though.
It could have been any religion. This is why it's ridiculous. So I don't see why
it wasn't
even an argument to begin with.
It wasn't any religion, though. It was the Jesus religion, and they were claiming he rose from the dead and that they saw it and they ate with him. So I need you to explain to me how that happened.
It would happen the same way it would happen with any other religion. This is why it's silly.
Okay, hold on.
Asking, why did the Packers, lose in whatever season, or you know what I'm saying?
No, Ben, you're avoiding the question, brother.
Purposely so, because it's a silly question to ask. Why did the Eagles win the Super Bowl?
Because Bill Belichick sat down Malcolm Butler. Those are all historical figures. Here's the thing, Ben. Let's think this through. You agree Jesus is a historical figure. You agree that he died. You agree that his religion exploded on the claim that he was risen from the dead. But you don't have any explanation for how that happened from your worldview, do you?
I did not make that third claim.
Okay, tell me the explanation then, Ben.
The explanation for why it got popular?
How did it explode when the core message was that he rose from the dead?
Well, like I said, it could have been any religion, but I didn't specifically say it exploded.
Tacitus,
people said he rose from the dead.
Tacitus said it exploded, and he hated Christians. So I need you. There's no historian, Bart Ehrman, John Dominic Cross, and nobody's denying that Christianity exploded in the first century.
Right, and I'm not denying it exploded either.
Okay, thank you. Now I want you to explain to me how it exploded.
The same way any other religion has exploded.
Okay, name one.
Keeping in mind that Christianity is not the fastest growing religion currently.
Name another.
Like,
name it. Name
so then we
it.
have to question, like, why is Islam, going or exploding as fast as it is now?
Because
it doesn't prove anything about Islam other than it's gaining popularity.
Ben, I can tell you what. Do you know what happened after Muhammad died? Do you know what happened after Muhammad died? It's called the Ridda Wars. Look it up. Ridda. Abu Bakr was Muhammad's second in command, and a bunch of people wanted to leave the faith because Muhammad had died, and Abu Bakr kept them in religion with the sword. Jesus died. Okay. So that explains why the religion continued, doesn't it? Jesus died.
For that time period, yes.
Yes. Jesus died, and the Roman sword was at the throat of thousands of Christians. And they died with the message that they saw him risen from the dead. That's not the same thing as Muhammad, is it? That's, as a matter of fact, that's the diametric opposite of what happened with Muhammad, isn't it?
Sure, but I'm not sure how that... There's nothing to prove its trueness.
Well, hold on, Ben. I'm still waiting for you to explain to me how it happened. And if you don't come up with an explanation...
How it happened is even important, though.
Yeah, well, it's silly, it's stupid, so I'm sure there's going to be a simple explanation, so I want you to explain it to me, Ben.
Because people believed it and spread it. I mean, that's how it happened.
Okay, but you realize that they weren't making a belief claim, they were making a fact claim. They weren't saying we believe he rose from the dead. They were saying we touched him, we saw him, we ate with him. So you're saying that they made that story up knowing that it was a lie?
It's possible they did.
Okay.
It's also possible that that series of events didn't really occur, and then someone wrote about it, and that writing made the Bible.
Well, I wasn't quoting the Bible. I was quoting Tacitus.
Right, but, I mean, it's just as likely that, or maybe not just as likely, but it's just as possible that they lied, or
that
those events never happened and someone claimed they happened.
So it's just as likely that, okay, so I'm going with you. So you're saying that they died for a lie that they knew was a lie. That's your argument.
Yes. Well, it's not that they did, that it's possible they did.
Well, you're trying to use that as your explanation for the amazing growth of Christianity after the death of Jesus of Nazareth.
As a potential explanation.
You don't sound very confident, Ben. You were pretty dismissive about 5 minutes ago. Now you don't sound very confident of your dismissiveness.
Because, well, the thing is, none of us know exactly what happened. Were you there?
Ben, none of us knows anything about history. Were you there during the George Washington's charge at Valley Forge? I mean, that's
maybe. I'm getting up there in age.
He said he's getting up there in age. That shit happened in the 1700s, this guy. Okay, look, Ben, man, I'm sorry, bro. But what happened in the first century is legitimately a historical anomaly that has literally never happened before or since. There's no analogy for it. And you have to contend with that. It's intellectually dishonest to even try to posit to even say there's an infinite amount of what. No, this is a singular event in history, and you have to contend with it.
Okay, but I don't see why I do, though. That's
because you're the
sidetracked way off of where this even began to this one single event.
You're the one making all these crazy generalizations and false analogies between Odin and an actual historical figure. And no disrespect to the big homie Odin and anybody that follows that religion. I'm not disrespecting that. All I'm saying is that I'm talking about a historical figure that's documented by multiple sources that don't talk to each other. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, then what about Elvis? A lot of people claim they've seen Elvis, and supposedly he's dead.
Sure. How many of them have died to verify that?
I don't know.
Okay. Read Tacitus. The treatment of Christians was so brutal that even the bloodthirsty Romans in their arena were asking for mercy. And you want me to believe that all these people died in this horrible, gruesome fashion for a lie that they knew was a lie? There's no analogy for it.
I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm asking you to believe it's a possibility.
Well, look, what I'm saying is when you and I look at human nature, psychology, sociology, Ben, there's about 20 things I'm not even talking to you about as far as what makes that Jesus of Nazareth a historical anomaly and his followers a historical anomaly. I'm not even talking about all those things because we have other callers. That's just one of a bunch of things, okay? There's a reason, Ben, there's a reason why these people that study this stuff come up with the swoon theory. That Jesus didn't really die on the cross, but that he was, he was in the cave. He passed out and he was buried in the cave, and then he woke up after 3 days and all the rest of it. Because they're all trying to contend with the fact that these people actually saw him after he died. These are like mega scholars who've been were atheists, but they're trying to come up with some explanation for what we're contending with here. So for you to try to dismissively try to compare all these other people to historical reality, I'm sorry, brother, it just doesn't wash. Anything is possible, I suppose. What I'm saying is, based on the data, the resurrection is what's most likely.
Okay, so let's assume the resurrection is true. Like, 100% it happened.
Okay.
That still doesn't prove that it's... Well, I think of a way to word that wasn't going to completely mess up that statement I was trying to go for. Even if Jesus rose, that does not prove that anything else related to Christianity even exists.
Whoa. You're saying that if Jesus rose from the dead, it doesn't prove that...
It would not prove the existence of God. It would not prove anything else, related... It would prove that one event happened. If we could confirm it, which is still quite a stretch.
Okay, so I just want to say, because you've actually... This is historical for me, because I've never heard this before in my life. So what you're saying is... And I want to word this carefully, because I legitimately want to understand what you're saying to me. And interrupt me if I'm messing this up. What you're saying is,
all right.
You're saying if Jesus rose from the dead, it doesn't validate any of his claims. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, help me understand that.
Because it doesn't prove anything about, one, the mental state of Jesus, who could have been fibbing about the whole God thing the whole time. It doesn't prove that the God he is talking about is the God that was written down in the Bible. You see what I'm saying? There's still an infinite number of other things that could have happened despite the one event happening that still, if it did happen, doesn't really prove Christianity.
Bro, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, when you said it doesn't prove his mental state if he rose from the dead?
Right. So let's say that he rose from the dead. That doesn't mean he wasn't lying about everything else.
So he was lying about all this other stuff, but the small piece about bodily rising from the dead, that he was telling the truth about.
That could be the case.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm not even gonna like argue that, bro. I'll just let that statement stand by itself. Here's what I will say. I think what you just said was probably the most ridiculous thing I've heard all week. But here's what I will say. Jesus' resurrection from the dead does not definitively prove anything that he said. But it does give me enough reasonable basis from which to have faith in him. Because he never asked us to have certainty in him. He asked us to have faith in him. So I don't need to play the game of like this guarantees anything. But what it does say to me is that I've got a whole hell of a lot more confidence in what Jesus said because he was able to pull that shit off. That Muhammad and Buddha and all the rest of them were not, and by the way, never claimed to be able to do in the first place. So there's in some sense I agree with you, but in another sense I say, if anybody can speak to us about ultimate issues, it's probably the guy that was dead for 3 days and then came back to life. Because it's never been done before.
I've said the most ridiculous thing you've heard all week, and you agree with it?
No, here's the most ridiculous.
You're ridiculous, is what you're saying?
No, here's the most ridiculous thing. You were talking to me about Jesus' mental state, and then, like, I don't even know how to process those two categories. Like, what is the mental state of a person who pulls off a resurrection? And then you're
true. I mean, assuming he was dead for 3 days.
Okay.
I mean, he would have not been breathing because he was dead, so his brain wouldn't have been receiving oxygen for 3 days. That would cause a lot of mental damage.
Okay. That's what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. What I'm saying is that nothing, Christianity doesn't say it's a faith. Whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. So for the first generation of Christians, they had rock solid, we see this. But for the rest of us, we have to trust, based on the circumstantial evidence, that this has never happened before in human history or since. And because of that, I've got all the confidence in the world in that guy. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. You're basing your worldview on nothing but your pure reason. I'm basing my worldview on external revelation and historical documentation.
No. You're basing your worldview on nothing but reason. The only thing that differs is what you perceive as the likely, series of events. But you're still using your reason to come to that outcome.
No, sir. I'm using that language to communicate to you because those are your terms. I mean, I don't believe in Jesus because of all the stuff I just said to you. I believe in Jesus because of divine revelation. I'm just saying, at the human level, even at the human level, if I took away all, like I said, Ben, there's a lot of stuff I'm not telling you. If I took away all forms of divine revelation and just operated from your universe, I'd still believe in Jesus. That's what I'm saying. And what I have, what I've gotten from you is, well, yeah, it's inexplicable how they exploded, but maybe they all lied. Well, okay, well, maybe he did rise from the dead, but we don't know what his mental state was after he rose from the dead after 3 days. I mean, that's what you've been giving me.
Yes, I did give you that.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Oh, okay. I mean, I love you, my man, but I think, I mean, I don't know, bro. There's not much I could do with that. I'll let you have the last word. There's other people wanting to call me.
I don't really have any last words, but thank you for calling me and let me have the phone for a bit.
I love you, my man. Hey, hit me up an email. Let me know how that other stuff is going, okay? All right, bro. Love you. Have a good one.
You too.
That's That's my guy, Ben.
Oh, I know.
I'm going to text him.
He said not to. He said he doesn't want to be bugged.
All right, fine.
Okay, so you have a couple people.
Thank you so much first of all, thank you so much to the people that super chatted.
Yes.
You guys are ridiculous. Thank you so much. Okay.
And then we have...
Everybody's saying good morning. That's right, because...
So somebody named Ernie on here is...
Ernie, I think I've talked to him before.
And then TJ Music really wants to call.
We already talked to this guy.
Okay.
So...
Okay, what is... The person who's Skyping right now, you can cease. We're going to talk to new people.
I've got one more caller, because I got to spend time with my girl, but we'll do one more call. I lose so much sleep over YouTube. So
see, Ernie is here. He put his phone number right in the chat.
Oh my
God.
God.
Right here.
Why did you do that, Ernie? Okay, what are we talking to Ernie about, babe?
I don't know. Just give him 2 minutes and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, just tell him you got 2 minutes and then you might even be able to take another one.
Thank you to all my...
Wait, I had the number
I'm
up.
sorry. Thank you to all my debate partners today. I really appreciate you guys. And for all the uninitiated, all these debates and stuff, they get chippy and stuff. We all love each other, man. So, it's all love here.
Damn you. Stop calling.
If you called before, we're not going to answer again. Unless you're Ben or Alec. Or Matthew. Or Leah.
I'm just going to use my phone. Okay. Because it's just not working. Honey, I need that number. Stop doing this to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, why can't I just say it out to you? I mean, the man has already put it on the... Good Lord. What's your social security number, Ernie Eastman? Did Jay super chat us again?
Jeez, Jay.
Thank you so much.
Ernie's laughing on here.
Well, we're calling you, sir.
I know. Stop laughing and answer.
We really need to do like a...
Right, the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay.
Let me make sure I got that right.
Yeah, you probably called some other place.
TJ Music, you might want to just call in because I don't know. Ernie's number wasn't working. Okay. Oops.
Why doesn't he Skype?
He doesn't have Skype.
I'll read it. 818. Okay.
Yep, that one.
Okay, 809 4950. That's the number.
Okay.
Call Bert instead.
Mike keeps saying, who black
Yo.
people pray to before slavery? What does that even mean?
Hello.
Same God as Avdol.
Ernie.
Yo, what's up?
What's up, big homie? You're live.
That discussion that I just heard, I felt like I was like watching like the Howard Stern show with like the fights that happen on the Howard Stern show. You know, like I don't know what to say. I'm not religious, but dude, I mean, you're on point with everything you're saying, though. Like everything you're saying you're so on point. Then just gotta say,
I appreciate it, my man.
And I mean, I'm sure it could have got heated and stuff like that, but like you two are so respectful, especially like some of like the music videos you watch and stuff like that. Like but you guys are so respectful. So I just want to like I just want to say that I respect your channel. I'm a fan. And, you know, I just want to say that, you know, you guys, you know, like peace and love. Like Ringo Starr says, peace and love. You know, I just want to say it. That's all I want to say. Yeah, so there you go.
That's all it is, whether you agree with us or not. It's peace and love, for sure.
For sure, man. Okay. I was actually gonna like ask would you I think I hit you up on the Twitter and like, you know, like I think Facebook. So would you guys review the band Hymn? Your Sweet 666.
Yeah, that's coming soon. I've actually had a couple separate people ask for him. There's just been a couple people. There's a Parkway Drive song that's been asked like 73 times, literally, and then there's a couple other songs that I just want to get off the list. But him is definitely on the radar for sure.
Okay, cool, man. Okay. You know, I mean, I don't know what time zone you're in right now, but I just want to wish you and Sori just a good night. God bless, and, you know, peace and love. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem, man. I'll probably call again, you know, or call me again in your next live stream. But, yeah, take care, guys.
All right, buddy. Love you.
I did. Later.
Bye. It's a good caller. Rodwan Alhiti.
Well, wait. We have a question that keeps getting... A couple of people have asked. It's just so loaded, I don't know. Well, I feel like it's loaded. Like how... What do we feel about IVF? Oh my gosh, you just answered that? Why did you have me ask this?
Hey, hold on for a second, okay?
Okay.
I mean, go ahead. How do you feel about IVF?
Well, I think that it's a very sensitive topic. I think it's a very sensitive topic because a lot of people that are doing IVF are doing it because they've been infertile for a very long time and it's been very difficult. And I have a very close family member who went through this, and I watched her go through it for years. It was very challenging, and I think that it presented itself with a lot of moral issues. One being that you pay and they harvest all of your eggs, and then they fertilize all of them, and then they take the strongest of the ones fertilized, and the ones that are kind of they usually just toss those out or freeze them, and a lot of them don't survive the freezing process. And I morally don't feel comfortable with taking a fertilized egg and putting it when it comes together within a woman, like it goes right into her womb, and it's like the best possible place for that egg to fertilize. But when you have it and then you have it in a little dish and then you stick it in a freezer and you hope that it survives, I think that we're not doing the best we can for these children, and so I'm not comfortable with it at all. But I know it's a very sensitive topic, and I hate talking about it so quickly, and I feel like I didn't really have a whole lot of time to prepare. But it's a tough subject because, you know, when a woman really wants to have a child, and that, like, I believe that desire is put in her from God, like, you want to have children, like, that's what that's one of the things that a woman is created to do, and it's a beautiful, amazing thing. But when you have that desire so strong and it's not working for you, and then you see other people that they seems like people just look at them and they're pregnant and they don't even want their kid. It's a very difficult thing to go through. It's hard not to become resentful and bitter toward people that are easily able to get pregnant. But it's a tough subject for sure. Do you have anything to say about it?
No. I mean, I think you covered it, babe. It's just because I remember that whole situation with people in your family and even yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I was supposed to out you on that, but
that's fine.
Having such a hard time with fertility, and I feel like That's a very, very, very significant pain, and I almost feel like unqualified to speak on it because I don't know what that's like. And you know what that's like, and you've loved people that have, and I loved you guys from a distance at the time, but that's one of those ones, honestly, where, eventually we're going to do a Bible study on Bible passages that I don't like. And that's one of the things that that I struggle with God about. Like, you got these people that are willing to do anything for a child and can't have a child. And I know that there's, plans and whatever, but that's a hard topic. And I think women have it really difficult sometimes because they get put in these crazy situations that carry all these moral implications, and then they have to bear kind of the weight of a lot of stuff by themselves. And I don't feel like the church is doing a very good job at being able to manage the complexities of that stuff very well.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was like there was not a lot of support.
No, it wasn't a lot of support at all. But that's something, like, I think that we'd have to do, like, a whole separate section on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can say stuff and put stuff together. It's just that, like, being there and being with a person when they're crying or angry or resentful and letting them know that whole balance of it's okay to be angry at the same time.
Yeah.
Let's try to move past it and all. It's just all the moral implications. It's really, really hard.
I know. That's why it was hard to even bring it up. But I, like, if we decide to do, like, a fireside on it or something like that, like, I would share my journey with our friends.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Is the person still on the line? Let's see. You did a good job. Give me a kiss. Hello? Skype person? Hello? Hello? Still on mute? You there? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Very good. Who am I speaking to?
I'm Radwan.
Okay, Radwan. What's
how
up?
Are you guys? I'm doing all right. Thank you so much. So I'm at the emergency room. I'm actually a resident doctor. So the sound might be not the best, but the discussion was very interesting, and I wanted to just join in because I have some question for you.
Okay. Are you a Muslim?
No, I'm an atheist, but that's a good guess because of my name, basically, you made that assumption, I assume.
Right.
Yeah, but I was a Muslim until I was 16, and then I went into a journey to try to find the right religion, and like I did some kind of comparative study, and I have a lot of backgrounds on theology, which basically would bring me to the question, based on the last discussion that you had with the other guy, because you talked about the resurrection as one of the major claims to validate Christianity. But what's your take on the Islamic version of that, though?
Well, which version are you talking about? Are you talking about the version where Isa asks, who's going to take my place and they'll be my companion in Jannah, in which case young...
I mean, there's like one agreeable, I'm talking about this Muslim in general, like whether there are Sunnis and Shia, they agree based on the Quran, because there's a full chapter about Mary and the virgin birth. And I assume you read about that. But, in Islam, the story states, like, everything about Jesus is pretty much the same. The virgin birth, all the miracles. The only exception is that he wasn't crucified. God ascended him to heaven, and he made some guy looks like him, and that guy was crucified instead.
Well, you're talking about Surah 4:157, where it says, the Jews are boasting that we killed Isa the Messiah, but they killed him not, but it appeared to them as such. And those who contradict are only following conjecture. I'm pretty sure that's what Surah 4:157 says. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, but I'm kind of more familiar with the Arabic version because I speak four languages, and I have read the Quran from the Arabic perspective. So I'm not. I think it's the same, but like I'm not concerned with the details. But in general, like all like in Islamic theology for both Sunnis and Shiites, they all agree that Jesus, which is Isa in Islam, wasn't crucified. He was ascended to heaven.
Have you heard of Ahmed Deedat?
Who's that? Sorry?
Ahmed Deedat.
Yes.
Do you know what Ahmed Deedat said about Jesus and the crucifixion?
No.
Ahmed Deedat, and he actually wrote a book called Crucifixion, Fiction. And in that book, he actually says that Jesus was nailed to the cross, but that he didn't die, that he fell into a coma, and then that Allah woke him up, and then...
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's no source for that story. I'm talking, my main source is Al-Hadith, which basically Al-Bukhari...
Which hadith says explains... Let me ask this question. Ibn Kathir, tell me what he says about Surah 4:157.
Well, in the Ibn Kathir explanation is that Jesus was basically... after he was vindicted as he was sent to basically to be crucified. He was ascended to heaven by God, and God made a guy. I forgot the name. He's actually having like a specific term for it. But I'm having some issue with the translation because.
Okay, what I'm trying to explain to you, brother, is that Ibn Kathir, Jalalain, Ahmed Deedat, they all have different explanations for explaining Surah 4:157. There's not a monolithic Islamic explanation for Surah 4:157.
Right, it's kind of allegorical. Like, it's open for a different kind of interpretation, right?
Okay, well, here's the thing. Just like with the previous caller, I have what the Bible says, right?
Uh-huh.
I have predictive prophecy that Jesus was supposed to be crucified, Psalm 22, Isaiah 53. I have the biblical writers saying he was crucified, and then I have Tacitus, Pliny, etc., who are historians who hated Christians that said that Jesus was crucified, okay?
Right.
Then 600 years later, I have Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who says in Surah 4:157 that Jesus was not crucified, and then the top scholars in Islam all have different variations of what that means. So who am I supposed to believe? Like the consistent message or the twist that came 600 years later?
Right, okay, I'm not trying to question which story is better, but like I'm just trying to argue, because you kind of fixated on the idea that because of the crucifixion, that makes the Christian story more interesting, or make it, more valid to...
For sure.
Yeah, but like I feel like that is not relevant because, like, for example, Islamic version is different. Yet, currently, I mean, if you check these statistics, Islam is, like, the fastest growing religion, which that doesn't make it, like, the best. Or, for me, honestly, as an atheist, I have, in some instances, I'm kind of like an anti-theist, too. But toward Islam, for example, I believe Islam is the worst form of religion because I lived in Islam. I was in Iraq, until like 4 years ago. I witnessed what happened because of Islam. And I also witnessed what happened because of Christianity. Basically, every war led by America was pushed by evangelical Christians or like the conservative in general. Basically, we're going back to the circle of belief. But regardless, I've witnessed the destruction of both sides. And I'm not trying to compare which story is better. But for me, is that how you can test a story that is basically 2018, like more than 2,000 years old.
2020 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, how you can test the validity of that story? Is it only based on the sources?
Here's what I'd say. I look at it, it's a three-legged stool. One, there's predictive prophecy. Psalm 22, Isaiah 53 are written 600 years before the coming of Christ. And it mentions hands and feet being pierced, that his clothes would be gambled for, etc. Okay? So that's number one. And that was fulfilled at the cross. You can cross-reference that in the book of Matthew, the book of John, Luke, etc. 2 is that all the gospel writers speak with one voice that he was crucified. They all speak with one voice that he was crucified. They all speak with one voice that he rose from the dead. 3, the pagan sources, meaning these are anti-Christian sources at the time, all mention that Jesus was crucified.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, so I've got a 3-legged stool. And then 600 years later, I have one Aya. Okay? And then the top scholars, Jalalain, Ibn Kathir, etc., they all have varying accounts of that. So what I'm saying is, if you're talking about testing, to me, it seems very obvious when I put those two together, which one has the weight of persuasion behind it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, for me, personally, I believe, like, as an atheist, I believe, I believe in Jesus of Nazareth. I believe there was Jesus, and he was the king of the Jews, just like what happened. I mean, he wasn't the first, but he was the last, basically, leader of the Jews, because before Jesus, I mean, historically speaking, a lot of other people who claim they are, basically, have miracles, and they are prophets, and it was a tradition, basically, by the Roman Empire. They used to crucifixion was very common at that time, and they used to crucify many people on the cross. And every time, like, there's someone who started with having a following, they basically persecute him, and he ended up on the cross. You can see a lot of other people had the same follow. So for me, like, I feel like as a Jesus, I think Jesus existed, and Jesus was a historic character. But I don't believe in all the divine and all the miracles and all the power that basically made about him. I feel like we tend to basically amplify stories in history, and you can see that in mythology, for example.
Yeah, my brother, but think this through with me.
Yes.
You just said that there were other people claiming to be the Christ or the Messiah, and then the Romans persecuted them, right?
Right.
Tell me the names of one of those people.
There's one guy, his name is Hani the circle drawer, who basically drew a circle in the sand, and he was asking God for rain when they had a lot of drought in Egypt. And it was raining like after 10 minutes or something. I don't really have specific details.
Okay.
But he's together following around him. And Pontius Pilate was basically was the governor, he was responsible for persecuting people at the time, because Judea at the time, it was part of the empire, and whenever there's something going on there, like, you have to basically go to the court, and the Romans were controlling the whole area.
Okay, so what happened to Mr. Circle Jar, right? After he died, what happened to his following?
He didn't have, he had a small following and ended. For me, here's the thing, my story about, I think Jesus, what made Jesus different, 3 factors. First one, John the Baptist. He was the one, all of his followers, he actually told his followers that Jesus was right. And they all switched and became his follower. So basically his following was bigger than the other people that we historically, are on the same time. The other thing is, Jesus, after he was crucified, unlike everyone else, because it was a very common thing, I forgot the name of the area where they used to crucify people, but when people used to be crucified, they left them on the cross. So basically they end up only bones, and then they take the bones and they throw them away. Jesus was different, because when he was crucified, historically, he was taken down the cross. He was putting in, it was a kind of like a ceremony afterward. He wasn't left on the cross. So I feel like all that led to building up legacy. I mean, even if you claim the Gospels, I mean, the Gospels, all the 4 Gospels. I mean, besides Luke, they were written 40 years after the actual event. They were not written by the same people, right? You know that. So.
What do you mean, same people?
I mean, Mark, Gospel Mark. He wasn't written by Mark.
By Mark? Do you know which Mark that is?
No, I mean, yeah, but it wasn't written by the same referenced, like, it was by the people, his students and people around him, based on what they what they heard.
It was written by John Mark, but go ahead.
Yeah, but like it wasn't exact. Like, what about like the other Gospels? Like, all of them, they were not written by around the same time.
No, but they were written by eyewitnesses. I mean, John was an eyewitness.
Right. So yeah, exactly. So like when you have witness, you kind of start to lose validity over time because people tend to make things different. When you write, just like, let's talk about, I will give you a good analogy. Christopher Columbus, he is a hero in some, like, for example, in America, some of the Americans, they actually still think that he actually discovered America and he was a good guy, while historically, he was a psychopath who basically was on a mission to find Indians, and he started to do enslaving people, killing the native, all the perfect things. But history, all our history based on a book, was written as an autobiography by one of his friends, and that book became very famous, and modern history, postmodernism, based him on that book.
Well, hold on, brother. That's why you need, if you're doing history, you need corroborating sources and not just from a single source. So when I was talking to my previous friend, I quoted Tacitus, who is not a Christian.
Yes, he was a pagan.
So there is no counter-narrative.
Well, because...
hold on. There's no counter-narrative to the first message of the Christians. Everybody's saying the same thing. If you're a pagan or you're a Christian, they're all saying that Jesus rose from the dead. The only difference is Tacitus said, no, he didn't, and the Christians said, yes, he did, but nobody's denying that that was the first message of the first Christians.
Yeah, because it's a story. Like, when you start a story over time, I mean, unless we can go back in time and examine the story, it's really hard to know if that event actually happened. Like, if you say something now to your kids, and like, just like with the Mormonism now, Mormonism is the whole thing based on a fraud. Even though it wasn't really that old time ago, but like still, the base is really huge.
But hold on, brother. Hold on for a second. So you're saying that Jesus' first followers made up the story?
No, I mean, like, the modern Christianity based on what Paul and James the brother, they actually shaped the new modern Christianity.
What do you mean by modern Christianity? Modern Christianity as opposed to what?
I mean, like, if you compare it to basically what's happened in the Old Testament, or like all the other stories that we got, because Christianity, like in the story, like now we have, if you compare like Catholicism to evangelicals to, the other.
Well, Catholics don't stay with the Bible alone.
Say that again, sorry.
Catholics don't believe in staying with the Bible alone. It's the Bible plus the magisterium. I guess for me, what I'm trying to figure out from you is you're saying you believe Jesus lived, you believe that he died, you believe that he was buried, and you also believe that his religion exploded after he died.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you're saying that there were other people claiming to be the Messiah, and then when they died, their religion fizzled out. So what I'm asking you is, the first Christians were claiming not that they believed Jesus rose from the dead. They were claiming that they saw him, touched him, and ate with him. And my question to you is, were they telling the truth, or were they just making that up?
Just making that up.
Okay. So hold on for a second. So then, I'm just following you, and then I'll let you talk after. So then what you're saying is, all those people, when they were being set on fire and their wives were being raped and their children were being executed in front of them, were dying for a lie that they knew was a lie.
No, they didn't want... Okay, here's the thing. Just because 3 people made a story and thousands and millions of people believed in it, it doesn't mean all the believers, they know it was a lie.
My man, 3 people weren't saying it. There were hundreds of people saying that.
Well, because it's an interpretation. Like, if I now did something magnificent and then something happened to me, and some of my best friends, they basically, they thought because I did that thing, then I had some superpowers, and they start talking and making stories about me, and they start to get some kind of following. It doesn't mean they are necessarily, they made that up, but, they thought that was magnificent. That was something huge. I mean, it may not be factually true, but for them, maybe they thought it was true.
So are you saying that the disciples, maybe they hallucinated seeing Jesus?
No, I feel like it's the story started after his death. The story started to spread in a way that, he is the Messiah. Even though basically, as a Messiah, one of his major goal was to liberate the Jews, and he basically didn't achieve that goal. So, like, I don't know why they would call him the Messiah.
Oh, but there is another problem, because he, from the Jewish expectation, was a monumental failure. So how in the world, because Christianity started as a Jewish religion.
Right. He was a Jewish, yeah. He was a Jew, yeah.
And all his followers were Jews. So how in the world did these people convince their fellow Jews that he was the Messiah when he died under Roman power?
Well, we don't have, we cannot judge that. Because we don't have enough evidence. And that's the problem with history, because...
No, we have evidence to say that there was a massive amount of Jews that converted to Christianity in the first century. That's a fact.
Yeah, but so what? Like, how that's helped the story? I mean, also a lot of people believe in Buddhism. A lot of people believe in Islam.
No, bro. Here's the problem. You just stated the problem. You just said that the Jewish expectation was that he was going to overthrow Romans, and he did the exact opposite. He died under Roman power in the worst way possible.
Right.
And what I'm asking you is, how do you explain the explosion among Jewish converts to this idea that Jesus was the Messiah when he died under Roman power without a resurrection?
Right. Well, the problem is that we can't judge and we can't know what exactly happened, because, I mean, before Jesus, a lot of other Jews tried and failed and they died and their history is gone.
Right.
But Jesus... That's what I respect about Jesus of Nazareth, like the historic Jesus, is that, like, his legacy lived on, and that's something that no one can take it. Even every atheist can argue that that's something very impressive, and we all know what happened. But at the same time, just because that story went so long and we all lived by it, it doesn't mean we cannot question it, and it doesn't mean we cannot.
No, you can question it. What I'm saying is, I've yet to hear the points that you're bringing up. I didn't bring up the previous points in my other caller, but the points that you're bringing up indicate an even more necessity for a supernatural explanation, because Jesus should have went the way of all the other messianic pretenders, because they all died, and when they died, their movement died with him. Let's agree on this. Of all the people that claim to be the Messiah, Jesus' movement was an anomaly. Do you agree with that?
True.
Okay. And it's inexplicable, considering all those factors, how in the world his movement continued when everybody else has failed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive, obviously, like what he did, like especially the aftermath and how Christianity exploded, around that time. It's something that no one was able to do.
And it's never been replicated since. I just talked about Muhammad and after he died, and what the battles that Abu Bakr had to fight to keep people within the fold of Islam.
Yes.
Right. That's the exact opposite of what happened with Christianity.
But so for me, like my perspective of Islam, Islam is like, basically Christianity plus. Like they didn't really add much. Like if you read the Islamic Hadith and the Islamic theology in general, is basically all the stories, even the prophets, all the same, borrowed from Christianity and from Judaism. But with Muhammad, basically, because he was also fighting the pagans in Mecca at that time. But what helped his story was the aftermath, because when they started to spread the religion, it started to go it was really huge, like in Mecca and Medina, and even after his death, all people started to question. But his followers, Abu Bakr, and that's how the problem with Shias, because Shias follow, Ali, and Ali was his cousin, and he was the fourth after him. But regardless to the story, it's the problem here. Okay.
I hear you, my man. I gotta go. It's 4:00 in the morning where I am. I appreciate you.
Right on, man. Well, thank you so much. And I have one question. When you guys will do the breakdown for Dark Side of the Moon?
I told Sori that it's got to happen very, very soon. I'm shooting for tomorrow, inshallah.
Oh, awesome. Well, I appreciate that.
Okay. Love you, man.
Thanks. It was nice talking to you guys.
Have a good one. Salam alaikum.
Thanks.
All right, you guys. Lots of conversation, lots of fun times. I love everybody. Chat explode unprecedentedly. That's very good. I gotta go. Thank you to all my callers. I love everybody. We had fun. We had good times. We will all see each other soon. Have a good one. How do I get out of this? I'm gonna watch Vikings, by the way, guys.